Ever feel like you're drowning in like all this self-help stuff, but like none of it really clicks?
Right.
Well, today's deep dive, it's for you.
Yeah.
We are cracking open the Dokkodo, okay? Which translates to the path of walking alone,
Hmm.
which is pretty hardcore,
Yeah.
but it's a warrior's guide to life, basically.
It is.
And it was written by the legendary Miyamoto Musashi.
What's so interesting about this,
Hmm.
about the Dokkodo, is that Musashi, the samurai, who was undefeated in over 60 duels, he wrote it for himself, right?
Yeah.
This wasn't meant to be, on a bookshelf.
It's not like a self-help.
I didn't go to a publisher.
Yeah.
This is a guy who, 2 years before his death, in 1645, goes into a cave
A cave.
and distills his entire life experience into these 21 precepts.
Okay, so picture this. 1645. No, like, comfy meditation retreat. This is like brutal, honor-bound Japan.
Yeah, I mean, Musashi himself, his first duel to the death, age 13.
See, this is making me feel a little better about, my awkward teenage years.
Makes you rethink those, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But it really is, this context is key to understanding why some of these teachings can feel very extreme to us in the 21st century.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, because, you, our listener, you're clearly, like, intrigued by the whole, like, timeless wisdom aspect here.
Right.
But I'm betting you're also hoping for some, practical advice that won't get you, like, arrested in the 21st century.
Yeah, you're not going to duel anyone after this, hopefully.
Definitely not.
No.
Yeah. So, we have to navigate that tension, right?
Exactly. And our deep dive is going to do just that.
Yeah.
So we're going to unpack Musashi's world, and we're going to see where those precepts offer real, genuine insight, even if we're not taking them literally.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's do it.
So are we ready to test out some of this Musashi wisdom?
I am so ready. Let's do it. And I think we're diving into the deep end here.
Yeah.
Precept 5. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake.
Mm.
Okay, Musashi.
Yeah.
Easy there, buddy. Should we like all be monks now or something?
Well, I mean, you share that anecdote about the young martial artist, right?
Yeah.
Who really took this to heart. I mean, he completely gave up any sort of like social life in order to train.
Yeah.
Because he believed that, to achieve mastery,
Yeah.
you had to sacrifice that immediate gratification.
Yeah, he basically said like sayonara to like, pizza night and,
Right.
movie night, all that, and just like went for it,
Yeah.
endless hours in the dojo. I mean, it's easy to like, admire his dedication for sure.
Yeah.
But is that like really necessary, that level, even for someone who's, pursuing, I don't know, like a really high level career or something in today's world, I mean?
Well, I think it gets at something really fundamental, which is delayed gratification,
Okay.
which Musashi clearly like embodied, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not about avoiding pleasure altogether,
Right.
but it's more about recognizing that sometimes, choosing that tougher path, that harder path up front, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's, skipping the party or, putting in the extra work,
Yeah.
that can lead to bigger rewards down the road.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, think about like, the entrepreneur who's pulling all-nighters while their friends are out,
yeah.
having fun. It's tough, no doubt.
Right.
But that's often, what distinguishes, those who kind of break through and achieve some real lasting success.
Right. So almost like Musashi was like a few centuries ahead of like
Totally.
hustle culture,
100%. Yeah, maybe he was. But where I think, we might diverge a little bit is Musashi's kind of like almost bleak view of pleasure itself.
Okay.
Right. And I think this is where understanding his world a little bit philosophically can be insightful. So while the Dokkodo isn't like strictly a Buddhist text,
Right.
there are definitely echoes of Zen philosophy,
Okay.
with this emphasis on detachment.
Right. So it's not like he's advocating like a life just like devoid of joy, but it's more about recognizing that maybe, pleasure in the moment is fleeting and maybe not like the end all be all, and it shouldn't distract you from your purpose. So
Exactly. It's about finding that equilibrium.
Right.
It's like acknowledging that that allure, that immediate gratification.
Right.
But consciously choosing the path of discipline, of purposeful action,
Yeah.
knowing that often leads to a deeper, more enduring sense of fulfillment.
Deeper, more enduring fulfillment. Okay. Yeah. I like the sound of that. But speaking of things we like, we often seek in the moment, like that quick hit of pleasure.
Right.
Musashi, he did not seem very keen on complaining.
No. No.
Precept 9. Resentment and complaint are appropriate neither for oneself nor others.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, I've been known to,
Oh, sure.
vent about a bad coffee order or two
Yeah,
in my day.
We all have our moments, right? But this precept, I think, speaks to something really, really interesting, which is this negativity bias, right?
Okay.
Our brains are actually wired to focus on the negative way more than the positive.
It's so true, and it's like, it's so funny because like you'll have those days where it's like 5 good things happen and then
Right.
like one like kind of neutral to slightly negative thing happened.
Yeah.
And you just focus on that one thing
That's the thing you think about.
all day long. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's so true. It's so true. I actually had this coworker once, brilliant engineer, but he was basically like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, Every project, every meeting, there was always something to complain about.
And that, I'm assuming, didn't really help team morale, did it?
Let's just say negativity, it's pretty contagious. And in the end, talent can only take you so far if you're just like bringing everyone down with you. So, Musashi, he might have been onto something there.
Yeah, I think he was, and this isn't to say, of course, that we should like suppress genuine concern
you're right.
or feedback, right? It's not about being like, a yes man,
Yeah.
but it's about cultivating an awareness, I think, of that negativity bias.
Okay.
And then choosing, can I focus on solutions here rather than just dwelling on the problem?
So less complaining, more problem solving.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Which kind of, I guess, ties into that next precept that we wanted to unpack, which is precept 17. Do not think dishonestly. Because it's like, what's more dishonest than like masking complaints with like fake positivity?
Right.
It's like Musashi saying like, negativity and dishonesty, they're like two sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah, it's about like congruence. So like, are your inner world and your outer actions, are they aligned? Because if you're, the complaining, if you're focusing on the negative, it might suggest there's a disconnect there.
So it's kind of like that whole fake it till you make it thing,
Right.
but like Musashi's version, which is like a little more hardcore, be real or else.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Musashi, he was known for being a straight shooter. He was brutally honest.
Yeah.
Which, might not always go over so well in our, modern world.
Right.
Where we're all about like, being polite.
Yeah, like imagine telling your boss that their latest idea is a strategic blunder of epic proportions.
Well, yeah.
Even if it's true, it's,
Yeah, you got to find that balance. It's not about just being, like a jerk all the time.
Right.
It's more about, I think, striving for authenticity.
Yeah.
In our dealings with others. I mean, think about leaders who you really respect.
Yeah.
Chances are, they're not sugarcoating. They're honest about the challenges, but they communicate in a way that's,
right.
with empathy and respect.
Okay, so it's honesty, but without the harshness, maybe.
Yeah, like that.
Authenticity over blunt force trauma.
I love it.
All right, moving on to a precept that this one got me thinking.
Okay.
Precept 19. Respect Buddha and the gods without counting on their help. That, I don't know, that just seems to like really hit different in our modern, kind of secular world.
100%, yeah.
Right. It's almost like Musashi saying like, hey, like respect the bigger picture, acknowledge that like there are forces out there that are like beyond us. Yeah.
But don't like expect a divine bailout every time things get tough.
Totally. And I think that's such an important message. It speaks to, I think, personal accountability.
Right.
Like we can have faith,
Right.
we can, have a belief system.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we are responsible for our own actions, our own choices.
And it makes me think about that story that you had shared, which is a little bit of a tougher one to hear, but about the father.
Right.
Who wouldn't let anyone help his daughter in the ocean because he believed that God would save her.
Right. It's tragic, right? Because it's an example of how blind faith
Right.
without action
Right.
can actually be really detrimental. Yeah. It's a tough but important reminder that we can't just like, sit back and just like hope for the best.
Right. You got to do something.
Even when things seem really, really dire, right? We have to like take stock of the situation,
Right.
take responsibility, like you're saying, look at the risks and take action.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that applies, not just to like personal stuff, but
Yeah.
our work, our relationships. I mean, like everything. Think about like, I don't know, those big data breaches that happened
Oh, right.
with like Target and Home Depot.
Oh, yeah. Those were huge. Millions and millions of customers affected.
Right. And a lot of times, those things happen because companies get complacent or they rely too much on
Right.
on what they already have in place.
Yeah.
And they don't adapt to the new threat. So, in a way,
Right.
Musashi might say they were counting on the gods
Wow.
instead of actually, managing the very real risk.
That's a good analogy. Okay, so we are on to our final precept for this deep dive.
Right.
And it's a big one. This is precept 21. Never stray from the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on the surface, sounds pretty straightforward, but I noticed in the research that, the experts seem to have, like, kind of different takes on what the way actually means.
Yeah, and I think this is where Musashi's guidance, while, like, super profound, it does require us to, like, look inward a little bit.
Okay.
Right, because some people, they interpreted this precept as, unwavering dedication.
Yeah.
You find your path, you stick to it, you never deviate.
Right.
But then others say, well, that's kind of limiting, isn't it? Because life throws curveballs.
Yeah.
And we have to, adapt and grow.
So how do we reconcile those, like, seemingly kind of like different viewpoints?
I think by understanding that the way, it's not like a fixed destination, right? It's more like this dynamic journey.
Okay, yeah.
It's about staying true to your core values, your principles,
Yeah.
but also being open to evolving, to adapting as you encounter,
Yeah.
different experiences, new challenges.
Yeah, it makes me think of someone like Chief Crazy Horse. So, like, obviously very deeply rooted in Lakota traditions, but he was willing to adapt his tactics to face a new kind of enemy, and he stayed true to his warrior spirit, but he also recognized, like, okay, some things need to change in order to
You got to evolve.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And I think that's such a powerful example
Yeah.
of how we can do both. We can evolve without losing, the core of who we are.
Right.
And I think that's really like the enduring lesson of the Dokkodo. It's not, some like strict rule book. It's really a framework, I think, for self-awareness, discipline,
Right.
and really committing to living a life of purpose, of integrity.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? I mean, we've covered a lot of ground here today, from like delayed gratification to, the dangers of negativity bias.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
We talked about honesty, personal accountability, and then, like, grappling with, staying true to your way in a world that just seems like it's constantly changing.
Right. And I think what's so fascinating is that, Musashi's world, with the duels and the samurai codes, I mean, it feels so far removed.
Right.
But those underlying principles, those ideas,
Yeah.
I mean, they still resonate,
Yeah.
all these centuries later.
They really do. Yeah.
And I think the challenge and the opportunity really is for each of us to kind of,
Yeah.
look at these precepts, see which ones speak to us.
Yeah.
What are the challenges we're facing, and how can we kind of like integrate, even just a little bit of this wisdom
Right.
into our lives.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. It's like, Musashi's giving us this, like, amazing toolkit.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to figure out, like, okay, which tools do I need and how do I use these in my life, And maybe that's why this book, the Dokkodo, written by, this lone warrior in a cave all those centuries ago,
Right.
still feels so relevant, because, it's not like, some like prescriptive, self-help manual.
Right. It's not 10 steps to.
It's not like a 5-step plan. It's more like he's giving us this invitation to, like, go on our own journey of, like, self-discovery and mastery.
Walking our own path.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not even knowing always where it's going to lead.
And who knows? Maybe along the way we'll learn to enjoy a slice of cake or two, guilt-free.
Maybe even a pizza.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.